Hey, what's up everybody, Nexel here. Today we are playing Kingdom Hearts Union Cross, and I'm about to go over how I defeated the advanced stage of Defeat Ramuh, which arguably is not going to be super helpful just because there's a lot of things that I had in my setup that aren't particularly replicatable. So this was the setup that I used, and I know that, again, this isn't really great advice because this is a hard setup to replicate. So let's actually pull up our traits. So there's so many traits on this thing that you can't even see. There it is. All right, there's the extra attack. So there's so many traits on this. I have like ground on my heavy hitting metals. So this really isn't exactly a replicatable setup. I know some people have been using Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus as the first slot. So that way they're always doing the override in order to make sure they're getting all the damage out. But there's a few things that you can do, and I'm going to go over how I did it, as well as go over what you should do in order to make sure you can do this quest if it's possible. Because for some people, it's honestly just not going to be possible to do this. Alright, so let's actually one more time before we go in, let's go over the traits. So here are the traits. The Supernova Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi has extra attack, which I found pretty important. The Kingdom Hearts 3 Anti-Aqua has nothing particularly important. The Supernova HD Aqua has perfect traits on it, pretty much, minus the pet trait. Supernova Plus Sephiroth has aerial and ground. That's the important part. He also has that focusing damage where there's less than one or less enemies is going to be, I'm going to word it all wrong, damage plus one enemy or 0 parts left. So it does more damage the lower the number of enemies there are. So that's important for maxing out the amount of damage while still hitting everything else. The Supernova Illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora and Riku has ground. That's the most important part. It's also maxed out, so this is a 7-star Supernova Plus, which is important. And then the Supernova Plus Kingdom Hearts 3 Lee/Axel has ground, strength, and a fantastic pet trait. But let's see, then here's the friend medal. I'm using Ruben Supernova Plus Guardian Form Sora, which has extra attack and ground on it, as well as attack boost 9 max, gauge 2. So this was the setup that I used, and I had to try multiple times until it came out right. I actually relied on Combo Plus going off whenever I needed it to. Alright, so here's the setup that I used. The most important things about this setup are probably the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi with the extra attack, which could sort of be worked around if you have Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus the Kairi itself, the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi. That's pretty much going to get you roughly to the same area. The only trade-off is that you're using another slot for that Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus, which kind of nerfs your damage, and I actually needed to use every single medal on my setup in order to make this work. Alright, so the first thing I did is that I activated both these Kairis, so that way I'm at least clocking at plus 15 upright strength, minus 15 upright defense. I'm sorry, minus 14. Yeah, sorry, plus 14 upright strength, and then minus 14 upright defense on the enemy. Everything else is pretty much maxed out. So then I went in with my first Supernova. This is important that you're starting to activate the plus 250% early on, because then the rest of the damage downstream is going to be heavier. So let's go ahead and activate the Lee/Axel, and everything from this point on is going to get plus 250% extra bonus. So even this Aqua, the Anti-Aqua that didn't have perfect traits, is going to be doing a lot of damage. So then we just keep pushing our way through here. Alright, so this is where I slowed down. And the big problem with these the two barrier masters is that they have different amounts of health. So the way I wanted to go about this is by taking out both of them at the same time if it's possible. So I picked a few medals that had single target damage. So the Supernova Plus Sephiroth, as well as the Guardian Form Sora, they all focus in on just one enemy, and that allows me to kind of single out my damage towards that one enemy without weakening the other barrier master that has lower HP. So I already picked Sephiroth and then attacked that one. And then I pick the Guardian Form Sora and attack that one again. So now they're roughly at the same amount of HP. It's plus, I think it's 70,000 difference right now, but I'll show you how I got around that. So I activated the Axel and then the Guardian Form Sora. The Guardian Form Sora is going to take out the first one, and that's going to bring up everything's defense to max. So pretty much the enemy has perfect defense stats right now, but you can overwrite it with the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi, and that brings it down. Then we have Supernova Guardian Form Sora in order to finish off the second barrier master. That way, when we start our second turn, we have pretty much max buffs going into it, and that's really important. Well, at the very least, once we activate our Kairis, we'll have sort of maxish buffs. What you want to note here is that you actually have a decrease in your upright strength and then your regular strength. So that's why a lot of people use Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus, because it overwrote those and then brought you back up to a very good amount of defense. Meanwhile, the enemy is still clocking at pretty much perfect defense traits, so unfortunately I don't have another overwrite medal. Maybe it would actually help if I did, but let's go ahead and start attacking here. So because it's got upright defense and then I am at a deficit of upright strength, what I did this time is that I activated my Kingdom Hearts 3 Anti-Aqua, because the Anti-Aqua isn't really there for damage. It is there in order to help my buffs, and it is there in order to give me the plus 250% guilt that I'm about to give to everything. So it's not there for damage, it's there to kind of help out my buffs. And then give all my medals downstream more power. So let's go ahead and keep trucking along here. So while it's not perfect damage because I'm missing out on buffs and stuff like that, it's pretty good. It gets me to where I need to be, / it took quite a few tries in order for this to work. So now I've got perfect buffs and the enemy's got pretty much perfect defense buffs once more. So I've got the plus 17s on the PSMs, I've got plus 15 on my strength, and then plus 15 on my upright. The enemy's got minus 15 on everything except for reverse, which doesn't matter because we're not hitting it with reverse damage right now. Alright, so what I did here is I activated HD Aqua Supernova attack, and then I activated the final Sora's attack. So that brings us down to this point. Now, the reason I used the Axel first is because the illustrated Kingdom Hearts 2 Sora and Riku actually does single target damage, it gives you plus 250% guilt, and it's got a damage multiplier of times 222, which is better than Axel's times 150, I believe is what it is. So it does a little bit more single target damage, and as you can see, because there was no Barrier Master to change the buffs back to perfect buffs for the enemy, they still keep that minus 15 on everything, which is what we're pretty much going to need in order to keep trucking this guy. Alright, so we've got our Kairis activating, and then before we activate our Aqua, we activate this because we want, again, everything downstream to get that plus 250% special attack bonus or guilt in order to make sure it does more damage. So then all I did from here is just I played it out, and I don't know if this will be enough. Hopefully it will be, just so the demonstration was correct. Alright, I think this will be enough here. Maybe. I hope so. Yeah, I even got the combo just to finish it. Alright, so that's how I took care of this enemy. Again, the combos actually worked out perfectly in this video, but they could have not worked out perfectly. I've actually used this exact same setup, this exact same strategy, and still didn't beat it. So let's go back to the main screen, and I'll show you what I mean. So, if the game would load, I have 100 AP, and I pretty much only did this quest. This quest costs about 50 AP, so I tried this quest about 20 times until I got like a solid setup that was able to fix it up. So yeah, just note that every single turn I had plus 250% special attack bonus coming from the Supernova medals in order to make sure all my medals did the maximum amount of damage. I tried to get the 2 Barrier Masters to pretty much be KO'd before the start of the second round, because if you don't do that, you're going to run into like a weird scenario where you're midway through your second turn and then you knock out the second Barrier Master, it gives perfect buffs, and then the rest of your medals are not doing any damage, and you don't want that. So that was the second point of advice here. I really would like to see if, like, how much it is to do it with the Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus, as well as the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi. So what I mean by that is something like, because I know some people, like, the setups are not particularly, like, the main things to keep in mind, sorry, I'm like botching the whole thing. The main things to keep in mind are, again, that plus 250% bonus that you're going to get off your Supernova attacks, as well as taking out those 2 Barrier Masters at the same time. A setup that I would argue would probably work if you had good traits is, let's see here. So this guy here, this one here, and then, I don't think it's 7-star actually. I think I kept it at 6-star. Is potentially this setup right here. So this should be fine, because in this case, you have these 3 medals right here, the Axel or the Lee, the Illustrated Sora and Riku from Kingdom Hearts 2, as well as the Master Xehanort. Those are going to be able to give plus 250% special attack bonus, and then you take care of the buffs by overwriting with the Kingdom Hearts 2 Kairi EX Plus at the beginning, followed by the Kingdom Hearts 3 Kairi. If you have someone who's sharing a medal that gives plus 250%, you could sub out one of these with something that does more damage. So let's say, because this is hard to say, because you want this to give, at the very least, you want all your medals beyond medal number 3 to be having perfect buffs, and this is going to give you perfect reverse buffs. So it's going to give you plus 15 reverse strength and minus 15 reverse defense on the enemy. If you have ground and extra attack, this medal is going to do the job for you. So those are generally my tips on how I took care of Ramuh, the advanced one. I know, again, it's not exactly plausible for some people because the traits aren't there or they don't have the medals, but don't particularly feel too discouraged by it. It's only for 1 speed gem. You get 1 speed gem from like avatar boards. If you do VIP, you get 2 a week, unless they do that crazy one where they gave like 10 in 1 week. That was pretty sweet. But yeah, 1 speed gem, it's not too much to complain about. If you really care about like the future, realistically, you want to get the title, and it should hopefully not be too hard to get within 5 turns. All that means is that you have to pay 100 jewels to continue usually in order to get those 5 turns, but the titles usually do not come back unless there's some sort of special event. So that's really the main prize you want to be going for in this quest, in my personal opinion anyways. If you can get the gem, that's super sweet, but really it's the title that usually does not come back. So with that being said, that's sort of my like mini guide, mini help on how to defeat Ramuh. I hope it was helpful. I hope that people got some good education out of it. If there are any questions, comments, or concerns, feel free to drop them down in the comments below, and I'd be happy to answer when I have the time. But as always, everyone, until next time, take it easy.